Hi guys, welcome back to Shiloh. Today we're going to be reading chapter 13. But as you know, I have to introduce you to our friend of the day. This is Poppy. Say hi, Poppy. She's Jasmine's sister. Okay. So we're going to be reading chapter 13 of Shiloh. Chapter 13. I'm back to not sleeping again. Everything I can try to think of, I've already thought on and turned down. Even thought of Dad driving me to Middlebourne and going down to the country courthouse to report a man who's mean to his dogs, thinking maybe they wouldn't let Judd have Shiloh back again. Dad says that's where we'd have to go, all right. But how am I going to prove it about Judd? Think about that, he says. I've been thinking about it. Do I really suppose they'd send an investigator all the way out from Middlebourne to see a man said to kick his dogs? And if they did, do I think Judd's going to tell the man yes, indeed, he does kick them? Do I think the investigator's going to hide out in the bushes near Judd Travers' place for a week just to see it himself? Tyler County hardly hasn't got the money to investigate reports of children being kicked. Dad says, much less dogs. Even if I told the animal rights people I found a dog with a bullet hole in its head up near Judd's house, don't prove that Judd was the one who nearly killed it. I go out to talk to Dad about it some more while he's chopping wood. He just says, son, it's hard. I know, but sometimes you just gotta do what has to be done. It's Judd's dog, and there's no way getting around it. Ma tries to make me feel better. She says, at least I brought some joy and kindness into the life of a dog that never had any before, and that Shiloh will never forget me. But that even makes it worse. Wish he could forget. Keep me thinking of how Shiloh's going to look at me when we drive over to Judd's and my eyes fill up again. Becky, she's been crying too. So is Darylyn. The one good thing about it now is the whole family loves Shiloh and we can talk about him out loud. But there's not one thing we can do. 3 more days and we have to give him up. I walked down to Friendly on Friday to talk with David Howard. David feels almost as bad as I do. I could hardly finish telling about Shiloh and he's got tears in his eyes already. David Howard's 30 pounds heavier and bigger than me, and he still don't care who sees him cry. I've been thinking, David, I say, you got any relatives in Ohio, don't you? He nods. You think any of them would take Shiloh? Could you call him up and ask if they could drive down here tomorrow and take him back with them? And I'll tell Judd we let Shiloh out one day and he never came back? More lies. But David's shaking his head already. It's only Uncle Clyde and Aunt Pat. She's allergic to dogs. They had one once and they had to give him up. On the way back home, I'm thinking about someplace really good I could hide the dog. The old grits mill, maybe. Maybe up by the bridge. The door is padlocked, but I don't get into it because the top of the building's open where there's some roof blown away. I bet I could hide Shiloh in there for 10 years and he'd never make a sound. But what kind of life is that? Couldn't take him anywhere except after dark. Even then, he'd be so close to Judd's place, the other dogs would probably sniff him out. Slowly, the minutes and hours of Friday tick by, and then it's Saturday, and our last day with Shiloh. We give him every treat we can think of. A wonder we don't make him sick. And after supper, we sit out on the back porch like we usually do. Becky and Darylyn are rolling around in the grass, and Shiloh limps out there to join in on the fun. I show Becky how if you lay on your stomach with your arms up over your face, Shiloh will work to turn you over. Both girls have to try it, and Shiloh does just like it. Hello. And Shiloh does just like I said, trying his best to get those girls up on their feet. If Becky ever fell in the creek, I bet Shiloh would pull her out, Ma says. If I ever saw a snake, I'd bet Shiloh would kill it for me, says Darylyn. I got a sadness inside of me growing so big, I feel like I'm about to burst. That night, I sleep a little bit, wake up a bit, sleep a little bit, wake some more. About dawn, however, I know what I gotta do. I get up as quiet as can be. Soon as Shiloh hears me, of course, he's out of his box. Shh, Shiloh, I say, my finger to my lips. He watches me a moment, then crawls back in his box, good as ever. I dress, pull on my sneakers, and take me a slice of bread from the loaf on the counter and a peach off the tree in our yard. Then I take a shortcut through the East Woods toward Judd Travers. It's the only thing left to do. I talk to Dad, to Ma, to David, and nobody's got any more idea what to do than they did before. What I'm fixing to do is talk to Judd Travers straight and tell him I'm not going to give Shiloh back. Rehearse my lines so often I can say them by... Rehearse my lines so often I can say them in my heart. What I don't know, though, is what Judd's going to say. What he's going to do. I tell him he can beat me, punch me, kick me. I'm not going to give up that dog. I'll buy Shiloh from Judd. But if he won't sell and comes and get him, I'll take Shiloh and head out in the other direction. Only way he can get his dog back is if he takes me to court, and then I'll tell the judge how Judd treats his animals. Stop eating the book. Halfway through the woods, I'm thinking that what I'm about to do could get my dad in a whole lot of trouble. Around here, it's serious business when you got a quarrel with your neighbor and you've got to carry it as far as the law. Folks ain't that fond of Judd, and most of them likes my dad. But when it comes to taking a man's property, I figure they'll side with Judd. I'm not making life one bit easier for my parents or Darylyn or Becky, but I just can't give up on Shiloh without a fight. Will he shoot me? That thought crosses my mind too. Some kid got shot down in Mingo County once. Easy as pie for Judd Travers to put a bullet hole through my head. Say he didn't see me. I got my feet pointed towards Judd Travers' place, though, and they ain't about to turn back. Still so early in the morning, the mist is rising up out of the field when I come to a stretch out on the field. Looks like the grass is steaming. Sky's light, but the sun hasn't showed itself yet. You live in the hill of the country, and it takes a while for the sun to rise. Gotta scale the mountains first. I'm practicing being quiet. What I hope to get is Judd's house before he's wide awake, taken by surprise. He sees me coming a half mile off. Without Shiloh, he'll likely figure what I gotta say and have his answer ready. I want to be sitting on the porch. I want to be sitting there on his porch the moment he gets out of bed. A rabbit goes lickety-split in front of me, then disappears. I went out hunting with Dad once, and he says that when you first scare up a rabbit, it hops a short way, then stops and looks back. That's when you gotta freeze. Can't move nothing but your eyeballs, Dad says. What you have to look for is that shiny black dot, the rabbit's eye. If you look for the whole rabbit, then you almost never see him because he blends into the scenery. So I don't move a muscle and look for the shiny black dot. And there it is. I wonder what's going on inside that rabbit. If its heart is pounding fierce, no way it could tell I wasn't gonna do it harm. So I go on back for a second into the stretch of woods, heading for that second field. I'm just about to come out of the trees when I stop dead still again. For right there in the meadow is a deer, a young doe. So that's a baby deer. She's munching on something, and every so often she stops, looks up, and goes on eating again. Hardest thing in the world for me is to see how anybody could shoot an animal like that. Then I think about a couple of winters ago when we hardly had any meat on our table, and I guess I can see how a father with 3 kids could shoot a deer. Hope I never have to, though. I'm just about to step into the meadow when crack! It's the sound of a rifle. It splits the air and echoes back against the hills. The doe takes out across the meadow, heading for the woods. Its front legs rear up, and then its back legs as it leaps, its tail a flash of white. Crack! The rifle sounds again, and this time the deer goes down. I can't move. One part of me wants to go to the deer, the other part of me knows that somebody's out there with a rifle shooting deer out of season. And before I can decide whether to turn back or not, out of the woods, on the other side of the steps, Judd Travers is there, rifle in hand. So, Judd Travers shot a deer out of season. I think we talked about this before earlier when we were listening to the chapters, but you are only allowed to hunt in a certain season. So you can only hunt from, as an example, I don't know the hunting seasons, but March to June. You can only hunt during a certain time period. So Judd is doing something illegal, which means against the law, and he just got caught by Marty shooting a deer out of season. So Judd could get into really big trouble for that. So that's where we're going to stop for now. Poppy and I want to say goodbye, and then tomorrow we will be listening to chapter 14. All right, bye guys.